address that to one or more of the candidates as you so choose. So up first, we'll have a short and very succinct question, and we can start, Rob Moore, if you could. Do you support the East Coast Pipeline? Why or why not?
So when you say very short, you don't want just a yes or no answer.
Well, that was my
The shortest answer is yes, absolutely, I do. We've heard a number of people today talk about bemoaning the fact that a lot of our young people have had to move out west. Well, what do they do when they move out west? They're working in the resource sector. That's what they're doing when they're out west. We believe in the opportunity presented by this pipeline, and I think it's a great Canadian story, to take a resource that the world wants, that is landlocked in Alberta without a market for value added, that's being sold internationally without us adding value. To take that product across Canada, right here to our region, to St. John, where we have Canada's largest oil refinery, and we have one of the most fantastic ports, certainly in Canada, and a great port on the eastern seaboard, and export that product to the world after adding value to it. You know, the capacity for the oil refinery is 300,000 barrels. The capacity of the pipeline is 1.1 million barrels. What that means is there's an opportunity, not just for the construction jobs on the pipeline, as valuable as those are, and not just the jobs at the refinery, but also the opportunity for new industry to set up shop, to provide good paying jobs right here in New Brunswick. And you know, I really strongly believe that without the environmental processes being done, and I recognize that we must have a robust environmental process. We have that, and this pipeline is going through that process now. But I also believe that if there's a change in government, there'll be no pipeline. And we've heard from Mr. Trudeau, we've heard from Mr. Mulcair, when they're in other provinces talking disparagingly about this pipeline. We know that Mr. Mulcair traveled to the United States to speak against another pipeline project. So the world needs our resources. It's an opportunity for Canada, and this is a great nation-building program that I believe will only happen under a Conservative government. Thank you.
You're number 2. Just keep the same word.
We have to go to the podium or go ahead?
No, it's strictly up to you. Wherever you feel most comfortable.
I'm halfway there. Anyway, I support the pipeline, this one, for specific reasons. TransCanada's putting this pipeline through or wants to. I'm no fan of TransCanada. If you Google David Amos and Russ Girling, you can see me fighting with his lawyers on the internet. If you Google David Amos and TransCanada, you'll see I intervened in the Mira pipeline project. I was against that pipeline. I'm against the TransCanada's efforts, Keystone, to go to the States. I am against free trade, but we're stuck with NAFTA. Everybody says it was Maloney's idea, but Chrétien sanctioned it. NAFTA is such that the Americans get our oil for 2/3 the world price. Hence, why not build Keystone? They can take all our oil at a bargain. Everybody says, oh, without the pipeline, Irving's trains will stop going through Quebec and blowing up, or whoever's trains are coming through town. No, that's oil coming from a different spot. We're trying to get the bitumen to salt water so they can get world price. I agree with that. I agree with the pipeline Kinder Morgan for the same reason. Why shouldn't we get a fair price for our oil? This oil that's landing here in St. John, as far as I know, the Irving refinery does not have the capability to refine such a product. It's just going on boats and heading offshore. Anything that I look at, first question you ask is key bono. Who profits? Well, pipeline company gets to make a profit, moving the product. We profit, most importantly, because we get world price for our oil. More money comes into the tax coffers We all make up. We're all sinners here. Every chair you're sitting on is built from an oil product. Your cell phones, your cars. We do need product. We should get a fair price for it. Is that 30 seconds? So, for reasons of logic, I'm for some pipelines against others. This instance, this pipeline, I agree with because we all profit from it.
Mulcair was in the United States talking about the Keystone pipeline, but that does not necessarily mean that the East Coast pipeline is something that he does not support. It's quite a different case when the oil is refined here than when it's refined in Texas. As Mr. Moore has said, we would be expanding the oil sands by a factor of 3 with the pipeline. And right now, the price of oil is less than $50 a barrel, and you would need to have it over $80 a barrel in order for this to go ahead. So we have some time to put things on the table and to have some discussions and some public consultations. We have some time to find out if the jobs that are meant to be happening with this project are ones that will be of benefit to New Brunswickers, and whether they will be short-term or long-term jobs. We have some time to find out where the pipeline will be manufactured. Will it be manufactured here in New Brunswick? Will it be manufactured in Quebec? Or will it be manufactured offshore? We have some time to discuss the pros and cons, as Stephanie said, of some of the environmental concerns that many people have and that I am hearing on the doorstep in Fundy Royal. And we have some time to look at perhaps the trade-off of jobs that will happen when the effects are felt on our fishing and tourism industries potentially. So the NDP position is that the environmental review that is ongoing is insufficient, and that we do have some time to put things back on the table and to have a good discussion amongst New Brunswickers about the pipeline and what the pros and cons are and where things will end up. We also, I think, should be taking a look at some other jobs that can be brought to this riding. We have an abundance of natural energy sources. We have tidal power, wind, potentially geothermal, and there's no reason at all why Fundy shouldn't become a center of excellence for many of the renewable energy sources that we can develop right here. And other provinces like Nova Scotia are actually several steps ahead, and one has to ask why New Brunswick isn't